In World War II, nearly 45,000 British women left everything behind, traveled halfway across the world for one thing: love. Women from all over Europe married Canadian soldiers and started their new lives in Canada. Esme Crowther and Marjorie Nyman are war brides and came to Medicine Hat during World War II. Esme met her husband Harold while walking to a fair with her friends at the age of 17.
And they came up eventually and said to us the first thing. I always remember saying, "Would you girls like to go for a drink?" I said, "No, thank you." "Oh, well, would you like to go to the show, I guess they call it?" "No." And then this one guy said, "What would you like to do?" I said, "Well, I'd just go for a walk, I guess." So we did, along the prom, which was right along the ocean.
After that night, Harold met Esme's family and they started dating. After 8 months together, they got married, and 10 months later, she gave birth to their first son. Esme says Harold was working on the tanks outside of her hometown, Worthing, England, preparing for D-Day, a day she remembers clearly.
We knew it was coming, but we never knew when. And the ocean was filled with boats of every size and direct. And the sky was loaded with planes and everything. And
Terrible thing, though.
only a matter of, well, I don't know, I would say 14 hours. My mum worked for the Red Cross. She volunteered. That's where I got my volunteering from. And I can remember her saying to me, "We have to go down to the station because they're bringing back the wounded." And I said, "What?" And, "Yes, they're trying to get them back as soon as possible." I mean, some of them never made it to the shore. And that was one of the most horrible sights.
Esme says she didn't see her husband again for a year until they moved to Canada. She says they had very little communication.
The only communication that we ever had was through airmail letters, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, nothing like today. I mean, there was no such thing. I mean, even the airmail letters were late.
And they couldn't put everything
Yeah, and half of them were censored, so yeah. Yeah, through that. As a matter of fact, I have the letters and that I sent him and the letters that he sent me. It was kind of funny. I kept those. That's something that I've kept, yeah.
Marjorie met her husband Elmer while walking in a park in northern England with a friend when she was just 16 years old.
We were walking around the park. My hubby was laying there with another guy, an older man, both in uniform, and they started to whistle. And my friend Ethel, she said, "Listen to them, what are they?" And then we realized they were Canadians.
Marjorie then met up with him for a drink later that night and they hit it off. She then broke the news to him that she already had a boyfriend and he was saving up for an engagement ring. The two went their separate ways and Elmer went off to war. A few months later, Marjorie receives a letter from him and she responds telling him that she broke things off with her previous boyfriend. So he came back to visit her while he was on leave.
I had to get permission from my mum and dad, and he said, wanting to get married and come over to Canada. And I said, well, I don't know. He got permission from his officer, and then I said, well, I don't know. And then I said, okay, we'll get married. So I go ahead and we booked the church, and I was supposed to get married on October the 6th, and that's when he was coming on leave. But then my mom went down to she was getting kind of ready. We were just going to serve sandwiches and stuff. And she come back and she said, you know, I hear where the men got held up in Holland. And so she said, you know, he may not come. And I said, well, not much I can do. We'll let the minister know. So anyway, but there was people already in the church. And so I said, well, whenever he comes. Well, then a big rap came on the door, and it was a telegram. And it said, held up in London. We'll be up there Monday evening by train to Leeds Station. So right away then I said, well, maybe we'll get married on the Tuesday, which was the 9th. So I went down to meet him at the station, and I said, well, here, we're going to get married tomorrow, and we haven't even got a wedding ring. And he put his hand in his pocket, and he brought all kinds of rings. Got them black market, eh? So he said, take your pick, which did you want? So then we did get married on the 6th.
After the wedding, Elmer went back to war, and she also didn't see him until she moved to Canada.
My hubby, he'd got discharged, so he was here waiting for me when I come. And I remember looking down as the train was pulling in, and I thought, God, he looks so handsome and so different, because he had such a beautiful gray suit on, and a blue shirt and a gray trilby, and he was standing right underneath the light.
Yeah.
And yeah.
When the girls got to Canada, they lived in wartime homes with other war brides, and other ladies in the community helped them out and taught them how to cook. Marjorie says she was quite homesick and went back to England a few times to visit her family. Esme looks back at the decision she made to come to Canada.
Sometimes I wonder if I would have done the same thing today that I did.
It's a big step.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a terrific step to take. I don't know how, I really don't know quite what I was actually thinking, but you got to remember that there was a war on, and Britain was being bombed constantly, right through. Every night we're running into the air raid shelter, sleeping in the underground.
9 war brides are still living in Medicine Hat, and they still get together for lunch once a month. They also share their stories in a book called From Bombs to Meadowlarks, which is available in the Medicine Hat Public Library. For Go Southern Alberta, I'm Leanne Evans.